Good afternoon, everyone, and a happy Thursday. I'm Priti Koradia, your host for today's webinar. Let's make this afternoon full of new learning and experience. So, let me start with today's webinar topic, creating and interpreting precise performance baselines. Before I introduce to the speaker, we'll give you a small brief about QNX. QNX is a management consultancy firm with experience of more than 30 years with 300 plus satisfied clients from 19 plus countries. QNX is a CMI Institute partner with 450 plus successful CMI appraisals. Our success in 2016, QNX was among top 10 partners of CMI Institute for new appraisals. Now, I'm glad to present today's speaker, Mr. Himanshu Kharkanis. Mr. Himanshu is a CMI certified high maturity lead appraiser and also Six Sigma Black Belt certified. Now, if you have any questions or queries throughout the webinar, feel free to ask them in the chat box and I will get back to you during the question and answer session at the end. Now, before we start, let's quote a famous quote. Don't worry about being successful, but work towards being significant and the success will naturally follow you. Thank you. Mr. Himanshu, I would request you to take over this session.
Okay, thank you, Riddhi. You're always a wonderful host. And I welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar. I believe this time it was on a shorter notice as compared to the notifications that we usually send out. So I really appreciate all of you coming out in these numbers. I hope you all have read the guidelines. This is necessary because we would like, this webinar to be enjoyable and peaceful to all of us. I understand that many of you would have some questions, not only questions, of course, opinions and some points, some comments. Feel free to use the chat box. I have set the settings such that you will be able to chat only to me. So that's the host. Just for your information, you will see something called as QNX Infotech. That is me. So all your chats would be directed to that ID and that profile. And trust me, to make this more enjoyable, I would like to have your comments flowing because though I will show you what I want to, but it's always a bi-directional learning, be it any topic, okay, not just this topic. So it will be really great, and because we could not make it in a classroom format, so let's make it as much interactive as possible by you sharing the comments, and then I'll take up some of those, from the chat box. But of course, I would request you to be on mute. Unless I specifically would like some of you to say something. In case because of time constraints we are not able to deal with all questions, then we would be sharing the email and contact details. So please feel free to write to us and I'll be glad to resolve your queries. Now, before I start with the webinar topic, we have some announcement to make on some upcoming trainings in QNX. So I would like my colleague, Mr. Virendra, to please say a few words on this part. Virendra, are you there and can you take it up?
Yes, thank you, Himanshu sir. So, hello everyone. I hope you all are doing well and staying safe. So, we would be talking about this trainings. These are our upcoming trainings. Once this webinar is start, in between we'll have a separate 4-5 minutes to discuss over it. Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's start off, and this is the topic, and I hope that this topic will be, or whatever we show in this webinar, would be useful to all of you practically. Let me just set up some expectations from your side about this webinar. I'll provide an introduction to the concept of process performance baseline. Now, those of you who are already into the CMMI or some process improvement methodologies would be knowing about this concept. So you can take it up as a refresher session, because in 1 hour we can't really take a workshop. So there are always limitations on either side, but I'll try to talk about something different beyond what you have already learned. That will be my attempt. I'll provide you overview of some techniques, and examples of creating process performance baselines in order to support the bandwidth of this webinar, because we have many people joining in. Instead of me toggling between the screens, I have embedded some screen recorded videos, and that will hopefully show you, the actual ways and methods of creating process performance baselines and the interpretation as well. And of course, that was the point, that we feel that we correctly interpret, but sometimes we may not, and there are more things behind data. So we'll look at what could be the different possibilities of a particular technique of process performance baseline. For all examples in this webinar, I have used the tool Minitab, though that is not the only tool, and I'm not promoting the tool in any way. It's a paid version tool, and there are many tools available in the industry, in the market, for statistics. Feel free to use any one of them. This webinar will only help you to make sure that you understand the concept correctly and you interpret the concept of process performance baselines correctly. We'll also look at some business value adds on, process performance baseline, because finally there should be a value add to the organization. This is something that I tried to put it in my way, looking at the word baseline. According to me, a baseline is a statistical way of putting trust on your process performance, because you all are belonging to different industries. I can see that many of you are from various fields and domains, and we all have a feeling, right? That okay, there's something the process is not performing to the expectation, or maybe I feel everything is good or is going quite well. But then feelings are nothing if they are not supported by data. And when you have a lot of data, then you need statistics, because statistics will put all your data into one place and help you to get some meaningful output out of it. So that's what I believe. Looking at some industry definition or dictionary definition, it's interesting how Oxford defines it. So Oxford says that a baseline is a minimum or starting point used for comparison. So my friend, these two words are very important. Okay, starting point. You should know where you are, and that's what a baseline needs. Moving ahead, let's look at another definition of baseline. It's a more deeper. So MC Polk says that the baseline is a documented characterization of the actual results achieved by following a process, which is then used as a benchmark for comparing actual process performance against expected process performance. Now the last part is again very important, because it's not only important to know where you are, but you should also know how long is it about where you want to reach. How long do you have to travel more in this direction, and is your speed good enough? So that's something that those of you who are driving cars or you know about cars, you might be aware that it's very important. Dashboard is a kind of, it shows you a real-time picture of where you are, and probably if you have something like a Google map, then it will show you in what time you can expect to reach. So both the things are really very important. Now, why you may need to know about process performance baselines, okay? You may want to know how well your process is doing, and you want to study the process variation. Remember, everything that is alive has a variation, okay? If it's a process, it will have a variation. Everything, including human beings. How do I know that there is a variation? Well, use the ECG machine and or EEG also, and you get some graph. What happens if the graph shows a straight line? Well, you're dead. So everything that varies is part of a process. You may want to understand more about this variation. That could be your reason. You may want to identify some problem areas. Statistically, they are also called as outlier points. There may be areas where you feel that something has gone wrong or something is repeatedly going wrong, and then you may want to improve that area. You may want to identify any possible trends or shifts in the process. And finally, you would like to make some timely, take some timely actions or decisions for process control. You can also have, you will be belonging to some, domain of, let's say, sales, for example. Now, there are things that impact sales volume. For example, the number of door-to-door sales per salesperson per day. Now, you will try for maximum, but then there's always a limitation. There are environmental limitations and there are personal limitations. So what is the natural variation of your process? What are the natural limits of your process? So for that, knowing and analyzing and interpreting process performance baselines would be useful. Not only in sales, of course, in general, if you want to study the variation, for example, how long I can run at a stretch every day, or for a period of 3 months, let's say, because I will not be able to run at the same speed every day. So I should know the variation in the process of running itself. Stock market, maybe, yeah. So those of you who are well versed or you have a habit of looking into the paper for the stock market, you would always see some graphs. And baselining is very important, my friends, as far as stocks are concerned. So you will need to study baselines there also. And well, it's not only about software or manufacturing, even politics, for example. So you could use a process performance baseline just about anywhere you can measure something. All right, anywhere where there is continuous measurement available, you can use a process performance baseline, and that's why any other critical process for your work or your life. Some techniques that are useful for baselining. Now, this is important because in the industry, I have spoken to many people, and usually the technique that people talk about is a statistical technique called as control charts. Okay. Now, yes, control charts are one of the techniques that can help you to establish process performance baselines, or in CMMI terminology, they're called as PPBs, but we can just leave it for now. However, not only control chart, there are other techniques as well, which are good enough for establishing, analyzing, and interpretation of process performance baselines. So let's have a look at some of these techniques. Well, you could use the simplest statistical parameters like mean, median, and standard deviation. You could use histograms, and we are going to see some examples of histograms. You could use box plots. You could also use a combination of histogram and box plots. And of course, finally, you can use control charts. We'll see some examples of that as well. What I would recommend, use a combination, because each one of these techniques is made for a purpose. For example, there's a concept of variation. So standard deviation would help you to, judge what is the variation in your process. Then there is something called as a central tendency. So your mean and median would help you to do that. Now, histograms, box plots, control charts, and as I said, there are many techniques. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we can't talk about all the techniques, but there are many techniques. And remember, any of these techniques, they only help you to visualize whatever you already know. For example, if your concept of mean, median, and standard deviation is good enough, you don't need a visual representation at all. But when you have a lot of data, enormous data, a visual representation definitely helps. And which is why in this webinar, I'll show you examples of a histogram, box plot, and control charts. Let's go ahead. Now, it is important to know the type of data that you must have, or that is what you are targeting. Because we make a mistake of measuring the data, and then because you have a tool, let's say like Minitab, you just dump the data. Now the tool is going to do whatever you command it, all right? But your data is not going to make any sense if you do not use the correct techniques for the correct type of data. Let's have a look. This is an image taken from one of the CMMI courses as well, and is adapted from Six Sigma Advantage. In general, at a surface level, there are two types of data. One is what we can call as discrete data, also known as attribute data. And we have continuous data, or also known as variables data. Discrete data would be those where you will not have any fractions, or for example, you have names, categories, type of people, type of defects, type of sales, area of sales, geography of sales. These are all names, right? So you categorize based on some names. So whenever you see a name, that's nominal type of data. Then you can have data which has some order in it, like severity levels or customer satisfaction points, where 1 to 5 means something. So these all come under discrete type of data. While under continuous, you have interval and ratio. So temperature, you can have defect densities, productivity, anything in ratios. Now, why are we looking at this? So friends, you can use again any technique that you know or you can learn in this webinar, but you must know the type of data, because depending on your type, your tool might just give you the same output, but your interpretations are going to change. All right. So please be careful about the type of data that you are going to measure. One very important aspect before you move on to actually creating the baselines is, have you thought about what is it that you are trying to control, or what is it that you're establishing the process performance baseline? Is it a cause or is it an effect? I will invite all of you to give your opinions again on the chat box, like what could be the causes, what could be the effects. But my point is that it is very important to know that whether you can control a cause or whether you can control an effect. So if I have a fever, now that's an effect of something, okay? But I can't really do anything about the fever until I know and investigate the cause. Yeah, so some of you are, I'm getting some chats and they are saying that cause has to be controlled. So the answer is right. You have to identify the cause and control the cause. Now, should you establish process performance baselines on the cause or the effect? Well, this question we will answer as we move through the webinar, and you may have different opinions as of now, but keep your comments coming. We have some very interesting comments, and that's really good to know. So some of you are saying effect can be controlled, some of you are saying that a cause can be controlled, and then Some of you are saying that you had identify a cause first. Yes, so that's a good discussion. So let's look deep dive more into this cause and effect. Now, well, baselines can help you to control your process, but you should know what you're attempting to control. So you should have some metrics, some variable in mind, and whatever it is has to be measurable. Okay. Throughout this webinar, whatever examples we are going to see, these are about things that you can measure. Now, effect cannot be controlled, so you must control the cause itself. Effect, to change your effect in any way, effect directly cannot be controlled unless you know the cause behind them. Right? Let's look at some of the effects. And I can say that high defects, high number of defects in manufacturing or software or service industry, high number of incidents, low compliance, high schedule variance, high rework, low productivity. These are some typical problems that are faced by industries, organizations, and managers and everybody. There could be some causes, of course. Some of these causes, I can't write all, but some of these causes could be ambiguity of requirements, low code reusability, low peer review coverage, high coding defects again, low experience of resources, and there can be an intercorrelation between the causes. Okay, but of course, effects can also be causes and vice versa. So it really depends on what is your focus. For you, what is the effect right now? Today, what is your problem statement? And that is where you want to focus. Now, to establish process performance baselines, you must know the correlation between what is your effect. Your problem statement should be very clear, and you should have identified some possible causes. For example, if you want to reduce defect density, maybe you could control the causes like requirements ambiguity. God knows, maybe you could try to have more of code reuse so that there are less coding mistakes. Maybe you could have more peer review coverage, whether we are giving the service properly or not. There could be some complexities that you would try to reduce. So that could be the possible causes of high defect density. If you want to reduce your delays or schedule variance, which is an effect, you could probably control effort variation. You would probably look into the estimation method that you are using, because remember, there is accuracy of every estimation method. Maybe you could look at, maybe your requirements are too volatile and you should look at reduction of the same. And again, maybe code reuse. These are just examples, of course. I'm just making you think on the cause and effect, because merely knowing the concept of process performance baseline is not going to help you if your problem statement is not clear. So please think about it when you go back to your work and your processes. And we'll move ahead. Let's talk about baselines and what is required in terms of the data itself. Your data needs to be, first of all, time ordered. Okay, all right, because without a time ordered data, there's no way you can interpret anything about the variation, because variation will be over time. So your data needs to be time ordered. Now, when I say time order, what do I mean? So, well, first of all, it can be a regular data. Maybe you are capturing the data hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, or twice a year, right? That would be like a regular data capturing or measurement. Or you could capture some of the information over a period of time or over a period of some numbers. For example, if there's a manufacturing unit, you could pick up every 10th sample for output, or you could pick up the first 10 samples every hour. But some regularity has to be maintained if you want to capture data for process performance baselines. That's very important. Let's take an example now. So we will look at an example where we have a potato chip manufacturing company, and there have been increasing complaints from customers, okay, who say that every time they open a potato chip packet and they find many broken potato chips. And trust me, for people who really love potato chips, it can be an irritating customer experience. Now, what's the business impact of this? We have many competitors. People would simply go to the some other potato chip manufacturing firm. Now, this may be trivial to the customer. And yeah, we have got a very good comment called low sales. Definitely your sales can get impacted. But to a quality manager, if I was a quality manager in that organization, I would be really worried. Okay, I would be really worried. So here's what I will do. Now, the quality manager, decides to randomly select 100 packets, okay, and find out how many chips are found to be broken in each of this packet. And this baseline data will help the manager to take some actions. Now let's see how it can help him or her. So let's look at how we can use a histogram. And this time, for this webinar purpose, I have used Minitab. So let's see how a histogram can help us to first analyze what exactly is wrong, okay, with this potato chips. So I'm going to just play this video and I'm going to explain. So you can see that there is a data of potato chips. It will be like each of these numbers is the count of broken potato chips. All right. So this 11 means there are 11 chips which are broken in a packet. 12 means there are 12 chips broken in another packet, and 8 and so on. All right. So we have this data. Now we are going to use this data, and it's 100, as I say, there are 100 packets. So we have 100 data points. Right there, you can see 100. So now in Minitab, you have stat and graph, both functions. So you click on graph. Under that, you can see many options. Sorry. Again. So under graph, you have to select an option called as histogram. And as soon as you click on the histogram option, it will show you some options like simple, with fit, etc. For the simplest thing, we click on simple, we click OK. And you will see a field where you can input whatever data you want. So I input potato chips here. You go to data view and you see 3 tabs. Select distribution. Now you can click on fit distribution and normal distribution and click OK and then OK. Now this is an output. This is a histogram. All right. For those of you who might be seeing it for the first time, this is a histogram. And what you can see is, apart from the histogram, you have a curve. This is a normal distribution curve. Now let's look at the interpretation part of this. So this was the image, this was the output. Now these numbers that you see on this axis are the number of broken chips. So you can see that the maximum number of chips that were found to be broken were 14, and at least 4 chips were broken in all the packets. And this distribution tells you something about the mean. So can you see the mean here? The mean shows 9.2, which we can of course take it as a 9 whole number, which means that on an average, somebody would find at least or maybe 9 chips which are broken. Now this information is very important as far as the sales manager is concerned. So let's look at some possible interpretations. So on an average, 9 chips are found to be broken in the chip packets. That would be really a bad thing. 10 chips are found to be broken most frequently. So the frequency of finding 10 chips, okay, if you see this frequency bar, so the probability of finding 10 chips is the most, and that's on the higher side. And at least 4 chips are found to be broken in every sample chip packet. Now, we were talking about process performance baseline. How does this example help here? So remember, process performance baseline is not always about something that is good, but it's also about something that's not so good. As a baseline information, a sales manager or the quality manager will come to know that for our brand, this is the problem. And so the first thing that the person has to do is reduce the number of chips that are found to be broken. Probably also analyze the causes of why there are so many chips. And we have got a very interesting comment as well that 10 chips are the problem. Yes, so you could first talk about reducing the number of chips that can be broken, considering the transport, and then probably use this data to take appropriate decisions. Now, though this is a very simple example of like opening a pack of chips and counting it, but using some statistical techniques really help you to look more deeply, to peer more deeper into your data. Go ahead, look at some more example. So we talk about schedule variation or schedule variance. Now let's say that a project manager wants to control the delays or schedule variance for all his projects. Okay. Now the project manager has measured and collected the necessary data on schedule variance, of course, and the person does it on multiple projects, but of course which are similar in nature. Now the person wants to know the process performance baseline for this particular measure. So let's see what is done. Now, if you have a lot of data, a box plot can really help you in concentrating all your data into a short space. So visually, that's really a benefit. Of course, you can also use some other things like control charts, but let's see how box plot can be useful here. Okay. So once again, we have this data. This is the window that you see is a Minitab window, by the way. And you can just use the Minitab like an Excel sheet. This is the data sheet. So you can see there's the data of, let's say, schedule variation. Now we are going to use this data. Sorry again. I think I get to play this twice. Okay. So we'll use this data and we will use box plot function. So previously we used histogram. Now this time we are going to use box plot. So once again, we go to graph and then you find box plot. You choose the simplest one, that is the simple one, and click OK. Though this is already selected, I just will like to make sure that you select the right data. So we select schedule variance. And you don't do anything else here and simply click on OK. And that's what you get. So this is the image of a box plot. Now let's look at the interpretation quickly. But I want to also show you an interesting point here. Can you see the star? I'm not sure if it's visible, but there's a star and asterisk point marked in this chart. Now this is what we were talking about as an outlier. Okay, let's look at the interpretation of a box plot. Now remember, a box plot is consisting of 4 parts. You have these 2 whiskers and the box which is divided into 2 parts again. Each part consists of 25% of the data under or assuming a normal distribution. So each part would be 25% of your data, not including the outlier. Now this really helps because to a project manager, it would tell us that most of my data is concentrated in this box. In fact, 50% of the data is in the range of, if I look at the boxes and the edges of each box, it will be like -1 to +1. That's the range of the schedule variance. That's a blue box. The whiskers, I mean, these lines that you see, these are equally spaced out, which is showing a good distribution of data. There's also one outlier point. Okay, this star would represent some value of schedule variance, and it can be, let's say, 4.2. What the project manager would do is, first of all, look at what he or she wants to limit the schedule variance. Is this range, for example, okay? Or we want to further minimize this range? Because remember, schedule variance can be both good and bad. So when it's good, it will be in the minus. If it's bad, it will be in the plus. So maybe you want to restrict the schedule variance between 0.5 to 0.5 plus and minus. That would be a business decision, because that would help you to reduce your delays, more products delivered in unit time, so more business, and your business managers and owners and your managers are happy, right? So this is the kind of analysis and interpretation that you can do if you're using box plot. Your questions and comments coming, in case you have any, I would like to understand them, and if it is something relevant to any slide, I can also mention that. And in any case, we are going to take questions and address them at the end of this webinar. Now, let's me pause for a logical time, and let me hand over again to my friend Virendra, who would talk to you for a few minutes on this, and then we resume again on the webinar. Virendra, over to you.
Thank you, Himanshu sir, for this opportunity. Again, very good afternoon to everyone. I would like to quickly introduce myself. I'm Virendra. I look after the business development at QNX Infotech. I won't be taking much time of yours, but just wanted to share a few details on our upcoming trainings on CMI and our very exclusive offer regarding the same for all the participants in this webinar. So I request you to please spare 3-4 minutes of your time on this slide. So the very first training that we are having, that is Foundations of Capability. This is 2 days of training, which is to be conducted on 1st and 2nd of March. This course provides a detailed overview of concepts contained in CMI version 2.0 and the new appraisal method. So 2 days of training. The cost for this training is 57,000 Indian rupees per participant plus the GST. The second training is building development excellence, and the third one is building service excellence. So both of these trainings cost 28,000 per participants for each training. So both of these training together, attendees can gain an understanding on CMI model and the value it adds to their organization through real life examples. It also helps attendees to understand the high level value of CMI appraisal. And combining all these 3 trainings, the foundation capability, building development excellence, and service excellence. So these trainings are for those people who wish to be an ATM. The trainings are the building development excellence is conducted on 3rd March and service excellence on 4th of March. The 4th training that we are having, that is to be conducted on 5th of March, 1-day training, that is CMI version 2.0 upgrade course. This training is specially for those who have already been trained in version 1.3 and they wanted to upgrade to the newer version of CMI, that is version 2.0. So this training is for those. The cost is 57,000 Indian rupees plus GST. This is 1-day training. The final training that we would be conducting on 6th March, that is CMI version 2.0 high maturity concepts. The cost is 32,000 Indian rupees plus GST. And this training is on high maturity concepts of level 4 and level 5. So now coming to the very interesting part, herein we are offering a flat 15% discount on all the above mentioned trainings. So but like any other offer, this offer is time bound and is valid only till 19th Feb, that is tomorrow till 2 p.m. So this is only exclusive for all the participants of this webinar. We also offer special group discounts for a group training. So if you are interested, please contact us separately if you want to know more about the group discounts or any of the trainings. So our contact details will share you at the end of this webinar. So I request you to please note it down and connect with us if you feel that any of these trainings that you are interested in or you want to know more about it. So please feel free to contact and stay connected. We'll share your contact details by end of this webinar. Thank you so much. Over to you, sir.
Hey, thanks, Virendra. So we'll start in about a minute more. We have some questions also coming up, especially about what can you decide about a process performance baseline if you are using a box plot? A good question. Now, as you can see from the image, okay, let me show you a bigger image. Now, this is the whole data that you have, okay, including this teeny weeny point that's way ahead in terms of schedule variance. And if you know a normal distribution, okay, a normal distribution would have maximum data in this area. So from this box plot, it definitely appears, or it can be assumed and confirmed that 50% of the schedule variance data or the values are concentrated over here, which is sort of a good thing. It means that variation is quite less. Otherwise, this width also would be lesser. Remember, the width does matter. There is no fixed width for a box plot. It depends on your data. So looking at this particular example, the width is quite a good one, which means that most of your data are well within a certain range. Now, if this range is not acceptable to you as somebody who has set a target or a goal, then you should focus on those areas which are going beyond the limits. Now, as far as schedule variance is concerned, the less the better. So, points over here would be something which is very good, but then you would have to look at those points which are above, let's say, a 1.00% of schedule variance. So this box plot can help you to take decisions. Instead of you focusing on all the data, you would now know that you have to only focus on this particular area, and which could help to further improve the schedule variance. So this is your current baseline. However, one very critical point, whenever you have these points like this, now this is called as an outlier. Okay, so this goes above or beyond the normal distribution of data. Unless and until you work on this point, you should not make any interpretation. You cannot use this for further analysis, because your process is not yet stable until you have taken care of this point. So as soon as you see some points, one or more, you should first focus only on these points and then recreate this box plot. And then only if there is no outlier, then you can go ahead and look at the spread and variation of your data. I hope this would answer that particular question as far as using box plot is concerned. But still, please keep coming. Please keep sharing and your opinions. Please sharing your concepts. If you have any questions, please do that. So this is what we had taken up earlier. Now let's proceed. You can also use box plots for comparing two baselines, because we have been talking about baseline. Now, let's say that you have 1/4 of data, and you use a box plot and you did an interpretation and you took the necessary actions. But when you take an action, how do you know if something has improved? So you could actually plot two box plots at the same time using the methods that we saw. So let's say that you have data of 2 quarters, okay, of productivity. So it would look something like, something like this with whatever the units. So you have quarter 1 of data and you have quarter 2 of data. And we will use box plot. We find that the mean of both data sets, okay, so this data set, this is the data set. Now what we find is the mean is almost the same. Okay, now what should you conclude from this? The mean is same, right? So if the mean is same, why should I bother? That means there is no change, isn't it? Right? But then that's where the box plot comes in handy, because let's say that you plot a box plot like this. So this is of data 1, that is quarter 1, and this is of quarter 2. And you can see one very like a straight line here. This is like the means of both the boxes. The mean is the same. It's like 44.7 in one case and 44.76. But then in the second set, you can see that there's too much of outliers. So these are all outliers. They don't fall into the distribution. And there's just one over here. And there's so many. So there seems to be an uncontrolled variation in this data set. Again, the mean is the same, all right? Which is what was my point, that merely knowing the mean may not help. The mean can be same, but the variation will be different. In fact, in this case, the standard deviation will be different. Let me show you the standard deviation as well. So this is the same data. And as you can see, the means are like almost the same to 1 decimal place. But look at the standard deviation. 5 and 9, that's way ahead. Remember, even the standard deviation of 1 is a large meaning, it's a large variation. So you have a lot of variation in the second data set, which means that the baseline variation is too much. It has increased, which is not a good thing. If you want to control and increase your productivity, you should first reduce the variation and only then try to control it and increase it. So something like this, which tells you the maximum, the minimum, the medium, even this is a baseline, my friends, okay? Even this is baseline information. So I'll repeat what I said at the start. A baseline does not mean only a control chart. A baseline is anything that tells you where you are, and this is where you are right now. So moving ahead, let's also talk about control charts, because that was part of the list. And as you know, that control charts are popular, especially as far as process performance baselines are concerned. So in control charts, you should know some concepts first. For example, we have specification limits and control limits, all right? Now, if you specify a goal or a target that I will run always between 50 to 100 kilometers, every week. So these 50 and 100 are your specification. This is the limits that are set by human beings or customers or your business managers. Okay, this is something that you wish, your goal, your dream. But a control limit is something that is calculated. It comes from the process. It is what your process tells you that, hey, you know what? These are the limits of your process. You can't define this control limit. You can only calculate them. Now, when you know both, using a control chart really helps, because a control chart would show you the control limits of your process. They are also called as the natural process limits. So this is something that you got to know. Also, in any control chart, you should be able to interpret stable process and an unstable process. And we will do just that. All right. We'll look at an example of a control chart and then we'll talk about stable and unstable process. And we'll also talk about outliers. So let's look at one example where we have used control chart. So we will take an example of effort variation, and this is the data. Now, instead of graph, this time you go to stat. If you are using, by the way, you can use demo version also of Minitab, and you find the option called as control charts. Under control charts, you will see some sub options again, but you will choose variable charts for individual and IMR. IMR is individual and moving range. And then you select whatever parameter or metric you want to chart the control chart. So I'll select effort variance and I'll simply click on OK. And what the tool gives me is this chart, which is called the control chart. So let's look more about it. Let's look at the interpretation. So this is the same chart. Now there are three main parts of a control chart. Okay, one is the control limits. So you have an upper control limit or UCL and a lower control limit, and this X bar is the mean. So that's about like 4 point something. And all the points in this particular chart are within the control limits. So all the points are inside the control limits. This can help me to conclude that at least for this data, this process is under control or is stable. I can conclude that the process of effort variance is stable, though there is a variation, but they're all inside the control limits. Now, as soon as you have even 1 point, let's say beyond any of the control limits, either the upper control limit or the lower one, the conclusion will be that the process is not stable because this 1 point has got out of bounds. So it can jeopardize your whole process. It can play havoc with whatever it is that you're interpreting. So from this chart, okay, let's see what we can interpret. Well, the mean is something, and it's, by the way, it's high because 4 hours, like half a man day of mean, is not good for in terms of variance. The control limits are quite spaced out. Now, ideally, they should be as narrow as possible, okay, so that there's less variation. We don't have outliers, so it's a stable process, right? Well, as per the definition, yes, it is a stable process, but I have something very interesting to show you. Okay, let's look at another example. Look at this control chart. Going by the definition, what do you guys think? It is stable or not stable? You can keep writing to me on the chat box. Let's see what people are saying. So the chart is before you. Tell me if it is stable or not stable. So we have got a couple of them showing stable. One person saying not stable. Okay, interesting. Keep it coming. Others. Okay, somebody says it's controlled but not stable. Okay, but if it's not stable, how can you control it, right? And then not stable. Not stable. Okay, so we have got not stable wins, I think so, in this case, right? But let me ask you, why do you say, those of you who are saying not stable, why do you say it's not stable? What's making you say that? Outliers are higher, but okay, so there is no outlier. Okay, so in this situation, in this graph, there is no outlier. Okay, and all the points are inside the control limits. Now, you may feel that that this process is not stable, and it's good to have these feelings. Okay, I'll tell you why. Now, this data is a combined data of all the type of defects, and then there's a defect density that is being calculated, is why you have used this graph or chart. And Well, the person who is managing this process will say, oh, wow, it's a beautiful process, ups and downs, and there's no outlier because there's no point. There's no point that goes beyond any of this control limit. Even this point is inside, right? So I don't have to worry. But then I am worrying about one thing, that my mean is very high. No matter what I do, my baseline, my process performance baseline of defect density is above 8. And I want to reduce it, and I've exhausted all the options. What do I do? So here's what you can do. Okay, what you can do is we can break up this data into different defect types. All right, so instead of combining all the types of defects in one chart, we will plot separate control charts on each defect type. Okay, and then we will recreate the control chart. Now let's see what happens. So I have 3 types of defects. Okay, functional defects, requirements defects, and design defects. So now I'm going to plot control chart on each one of them separately. So same data, I have extracted the points for functional defects, density, and this is the chart. Then we have another chart for requirements defect density, and then we have another chart for design defect density. What can you see? So you can see that in functional defect density, you have got an outlier point here. And in design defect density also, you have got an outlier. So this is an outlier. It will show up like this red if you use Minitab or if you program it the way you want it. So these are my outlier points. Now remember, these points come from this same chart, from these same data points. But when you combine them, everything is okay. But when you split the data, it shows up it's like you do a CT scan of your body, which looks normal from the outside maybe, and you don't have any problem. But there's something bothering you, you can't eat, and it shows up that deep inside your stomach there's something. So it's like a post-mortem. Okay. Now you should use this kind of splitting in order to find out what is the problem. Now what you would do is you would do the root cause on this point and this point, and then you will plot the chart again. Okay, and then hopefully it will give you a better mean or a lesser mean. Okay. Let's now also talk about comparing the baselines. So let's say that you have again process performance baselines on, let's say, between 2 quarters, or you want to compare the effect of process improvement. So you have 2 process improvement 1 and improvement 2, and you want to compare which is better, which is giving better results, or you want to compare the baselines when you have used 2 tools. So you want to compare like tool 1 and tool 2. Now here you can also use something called as hypothesis tests. Of course, there are many examples, but one of the examples is ANOVA. Let me quickly show it to you for paucity of time, and how you can compare 2 process performance baselines. Okay. So we have a case where 4 different coding tools have been used across, let's say, 22 developers, and the productivity data was measured. Why? For baseline. Okay, and it was recorded against the use of each of the tools, and then we use ANOVA. So this was the data. As you can see, these are the tools that were used, and this is the productivity, which is like 1,000 lines of code. So it's like 58,000 and 59,000 and so on. And then we want to know what is better and whether there is something significant or not. So once again, we use this productivity data. This is what is inserted in Minitab against the tools. And we are going to use hypothesis test, and in this case we will use ANOVA. So going to the menu of Minitab, we click on Stat again, and then we select the option called ANOVA. It's really visible, and then we choose the first one, which is one-way ANOVA. Now here you get 2 fields, a response field and a factor field, and there is a drop down. Now because all our data is in one column, you have to choose the first option by default, which is all the response data is in one column. So that's what we are going to use. And then we are going to select the response data. What I want to find out is productivity. So I'll select productivity. And the factor that affects the productivity is the tool. So I'll select tool over here. And I'll click OK. Now Minitab throws two outputs, okay? It gives me this chart, okay? And it also gives me this kind of a text output. So let's very quickly look at the interpretation of these. Now, can you see visually that the means appear very different, right? So that would make you believe that, okay, the means are different, the values are different. And thus, it really makes sense, it really makes a lot of difference which tool I would be using. But then in statistics, there is something called as hypothesis test, where a difference is not significant until it is proved. Though we don't have time for a new concept, but there is a concept of p-value, which says that if the p is low, then you have two hypotheses, okay? You have the null hypothesis and the alternate hypothesis. The null means that the means are equal, right? And there's no significant difference. And alternative is what we want to prove that, well, the mean is significantly different. Now, if the p-value is more than 0.05, then the null has to be true. The null hypothesis has to be true. And if the p-value is less than 0.05, then the alternative has to be true. Now, in this case, we find that the p-value is 0.656. So here, we have to conclude that the difference is not statistically significant. There is a numerical difference, but the difference in the means is not statistically different. Now, how it will help you? You might have invested your money into some tools, or before you invest money, you want to do a pilot, you want to play safe, you want to ensure that you get a good ROI. So doing a hypothesis testing on the baseline, so now you have two baselines, productivity 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 based on the tools. You can decide whether you should go with a particular tool or whether you should just throw out all these tools and go up some new options. So it's not only about the baselines itself, but you also need to ensure that you compare the baselines properly. There are many hypothesis testing tools, of course, but this was the example that I would show you. So just to summarize very quickly, we have seen that we can use histograms for setting up and interpreting your process performance baselines. We can use histograms. You can compare to box plots also. You can use box plot. And of course, we can use control charts. But interpretation is very important. And if required, you may have to split up your data to get some meaningful interpretations. I can take up some questions now. So if you have some questions, keep them coming. We do have some questions. So one of the question was in the previous example that can we consider the tool, which has the higher productivity? So for example, this particular tool seems to be like a winner, right? Because it's giving you a good productivity. And yes, but be careful. A high mean is not enough, as I told you. Look at the variation, okay? You want to reduce the variation because this is like too much of variation for productivity. I want the tool to not just give me a good productivity, but to give consistent results as well. To answer your question, I can definitely go and analyze this tool, but I would check why there's so much of variation, all right? So that was a good question. So we will definitely wait if there are some more questions. But meanwhile, I would really like to acknowledge some things. I have used this Active Presenter application for the screen recording, so I have to, it is mandated that I have to refer to it. And we have used the data concept, the data image from CMMI High Maturity Supplement Training. So I would also like to thank CMMI Institute for providing this material. And of course, all my colleagues at QNX. So thank you very much for your support. Please keep the questions coming. I know the time has already run out, but for those of you who are still there, I'll be glad to, receive your questions or your comments. And there's a lot of good comments, and people have commented on some of the techniques also. Yeah, that's good. Yes. So keep them coming. And well, you can use many other techniques. Okay, you can use many other techniques for process performance baselining. Select the technique that you're comfortable with. The point is, please look at your data. Please look at the type of data. You should not make mistake by using a wrong type of data with the wrong tool. So you should not waste your efforts like that. So make sure that you are using the right type of data with the tool. Okay. We will be keeping some more webinars specific to each of these techniques, because this techniques was just an overview in this webinar. But we understand that there have been requests where we want people want to know more about the wide use of this technique. So please keep watching for our Asana announcements. You can contact me for any queries. These are my contact details. Okay, if you want, you can probably take a snapshot of this, and we also have your details when you're registered. So we will also reach out to you. And any questions or any queries, if they are not been answered, or get some questions later when you try and implement your baselines, I will be glad to take them up. And these are some more offerings from QNX. So I'll wait a minute more, of course, to allow people to frame their questions. I can see some of you are still typing. Yes, we would also keep some webinars on the concepts of version 2.0. That's also part of the plan. Thanks for the suggestions. Okay, so Virendra, would you like to say, a few words at the ending part on these trainings? Hey Virendra, are you still there?
Thank you so much, Himanshu sir, for this wonderful session. If we have any queries directly coming on this training that we are conducting, so please feel free to write us in the chat box. Else you can directly reach out to us on our contact details that we would be sharing in our next slide. So feel free to connect for any queries or any further requirements or anything you wanted to understand about our trainings and other solutions. So we'll wait for 3-4 minutes if we have any direct queries on this.
Yes, and also on the topic, yes. No problem.
Yeah, right.
Okay, meanwhile, also do share your experiences of using process performance baselines. And remember, though this concept started because of CMMI, it's not only about CMMI. Okay, in fact, it was never about CMMI. Any industry for which data is important, it is necessary to know the process baselines of your critical processes. So please do keep sharing. And as I said, it's always a bi-directional learning. So we are all in the same industry, and it would be really great to share and also resolve if there are any queries. So thanks for joining in anyways. Thank you for all those who are still here, and we would like to hear from you. So we'll send out some notifications after this webinar. But in any ways, thank you very much.
Can we move on to the contact slides?
Sure. Okay, there you go.
So you can note it down our contact details. If maybe in near future you can reach out to us on these details. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you everybody, and thank you Riddhi for coordinating this session. Thank you Virendra for your inputs, and a big thanks to all of you participants for, especially if it's because it was a weekday and not even the tail end of the week. So thank you very much, and your inputs will be considered and your suggestions are welcome. So thank you very much, and we will end this session. Have a great day and a great evening.